when I got into the field of NLP, I found it magical, not just for the change it could make for myself, but for the change it could make for others. People who thought, what the hell is life about, and more or less given up hope, and it would pull people around. And then there were the business applications as well, where you could do small things that would make a massive change. So for me, it was like a box of magic tricks.
The Connect Coaching Unplugged.
Welcome everybody to Unplugged episode number 20. We have two amazing guests here today, good friends of both Conor and mine and the Connect Coaching community, people who have been instrumental in the NLP industry and growing the NLP industry worldwide. And if you are in the NLP industry, there's a really good chance that you know both of these lovely human beings. We've got the amazing Simon Gledhill, the founding member of the IFNLP and Connect to NLP, delivers NLP trainings at all levels, consults and trains the corporate world. He discovers NLP's transformative power in 1990, all the way back then. He doesn't look that old, but he's been around for a while. While working as an accountant director for Citel, a leading international direct marketing agency. His initial experience involved using NLP for business, focusing on acquisition, lifetime value, and customer retention with blue chip clients like American Express, Europe, Citibank USA, Allianz Asia Pacific, and British Airways. In 1998, Simon became head of global tele business for a management consultancy, applying his CRM knowledge to maximize return on investment by increasing revenue, reducing costs, and improving operational efficiency and customer effectiveness. Simon believes that individuals and teams shape outcomes, understanding that thinking creates feelings, feelings create actions, and actions lead to results in every aspect of our lives. Based in South Africa, Simon coaches, trains, and consults, helping individuals and corporations achieve their goals. He collaborates with people worldwide, driven by a strong sense of purpose and a commitment to making a difference, which is very much aligned with what we do. Regarding NLP, Simon has an absolute unstoppable belief that this field of knowledge should be more recognized for what it can do and the differences it can make. It should have a way higher degree of credibility attached to it when it comes to reputation, should be way more accessible to many more people, and that is about time. As a whole, we recognize that it is cleaning the field up so that it gets out there and truly starts to have the impact in the world that it damn well can have, and the world is sorely in need of it right now. Simon is a work in progress with a book forthcoming. He is honored to be here today. Simon played a huge role in my development in the NLP field. He was one of the coaching assistants at my NLP trainers training, and he absolutely kicked my butt over and over and over again, which I credit to the skill set I have developed. Simon doesn't mention here, but he's also a master trainer of NLP, and he is a fantastic trainer. I've learned a lot from him over the years. We also have Vivi Thidalapat. She's a international master trainer of NLP. She's spent her formative years in the United States and United Kingdom, educated in Thailand, Australia, and India. Now she is based in Thailand, traveling to Singapore, Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, and South Africa, and Australia for business purposes. Vivi has been training NLP with our modality since 2018, with the reputation of holding the highest standard of NLP. She actively uses NLP in social work, for example, helping with the recovery and healing of trauma and phobia after a mass shooting event in Thailand. She uses NLP in conjunction with her knowledge that she continues to grow through her personal developments. She has graduated with a master's degree of medical astrology and clinical sexology, and now doing her PhD in using NLP to help self-sabotaging. She is very active in expanding the usage of knowledge of NLP worldwide. Thank you both for being here. I've been looking forward to getting you both together on this podcast for a very long time. You guys are actually absolutely making waves in the NLP industry. You guys, if you're someone that has been in the NLP industry for more than 1 or 2 years, you know about these guys. They are highly invested in seeing that people get to a high level of accreditation and certification in the field of NLP, and they're known for their high level of skill set themselves. So welcome guys, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kallum. Thank you for the introduction. You're reminding me of the trainers training. I think it was back in 2012. And while I was kicking your butt, that was the first time I met Conor and he was kicking my butt. So I just went back to that moment just now, or that 2 weeks or whatever it was of whatever it was. And yeah, there's quite some memories there. I think that's the way to put it.
I think like if you're talking about kicking butts, if Simon had kicked your butt, then you have kicked mine on my trainers training as well. And like the first time I met Conor, he kicked my butt into sales and all that. So that's like amazing.
Well, look, we are over the moon to have you both here. There's so much history between us all. You're both master trainers, which means you've both been part of our lives for more than 6 years. Simon, as you said, 2012. Gosh, what is that? It's 13 years.
12, 13 years.
Vivi,
Yeah.
you smashed records for what I thought was possible in terms of impact with your NLP trainings and influencing people to take their NLP trainings to the highest possible level. You broke the mold on that. And Simon, gosh, you've just been, we've worked together with Kallum for a long period of time, during the difficult years of 2020 to 2022 or thereabouts. You were instrumental in helping the ship that we were sailing at that time remain on steady course. And your insights and your depth of knowledge have been priceless in our growth. Kallum and I, we always speak very highly of you, and Vivi, you're a beacon of success and a beacon of what's possible when you put pedal to the metal and make shit happen, which is what you do. You always seem to make it happen. And we are absolutely proud and honored to have you both here. And
I woke up this morning to a comment on Vivi's Facebook page that somebody put down saying, how is it that you're blessed to work a 48-hour day? And I was like, how do I reply to that? Because I'm constantly astounded by how much Vivi gets done. I'm like, what is going on here? Like last night she was messaging me at sometime. I'm like, and I looked and I was like, surely it's like 2:30 in the morning in Thailand now. I said, shouldn't you be getting to sleep now? And
Well,
no, she
I
just
woke
finished.
up to a message saying I need a glass of wine right now.
That was
from your own, not just mine.
I think that's like right now it's like what, 1 o'clock over in South Africa.
Yeah, just after that.
Yeah.
Mm.
That glass needs to change.
So I mean, NLP has been rich and impactful in all of our lives. And there are people who dabble in it. And when, they hit against their boundaries and they're about to embark on a huge personal or professional change within themselves, they have a choice to either keep going or turn back into the realm of safety. But both of you, I think we can easily say, kept going. And as a result, you've created something very special in the world, and that's the IFNLP, which we'll get to later on. But can you unpack? I mean, Simon, you were heavily involved in the corporate world. You'd obviously got a taste of NLP in 1990, I think the bio said, and
Yeah.
and something within you said, I want to do more of this, even though I have a very secure, progressive role or organization in the corporate space. What was it that sort of helped with that bridging or transition, whatever we want to label it?
I think if I'm being if I'm going to be real with you, I think it's when I hit my 5th midlife crisis, maybe the 4th one. I moved to South Africa I'd lived in London for 12 years, working in direct marketing and a couple of other things like studying accountancy and goodness knows what. But I moved to South Africa working as a management consultant back in around about 98, just after the end of apartheid, when Nelson Mandela took over and came in and stuff. And set up my own, I worked as a management consultant for a UK American company. And after a couple of years, they wanted me to move back to the UK or go to America. I went and looked to America and I was like, I'm not sure this is where I want to be. It was specifically St. Louis. And I went and looked and I was like, not really going to work. And I wasn't ready for back to London. So I started my own communication consultancy training business down here, still working into Europe. And I'd probably been doing it for about 5 years, and met a lady who, there was just something different about her. It was a lady called Min McLaughlin. I actually found out she trained with Tad James back in around about 1992, something like that. And she started talking about NLP. I'd heard about it from somebody who used to be a director of the department I work for in London. And working in communication and consultancy, I just thought, you know what, there's something I can learn from this woman. Let me go along to one of her courses. And I being real, I thought, let me go along and copy some of the stuff that she does and add to what I already do and make it better. So delivering trainings into the corporate environment and so on. That's how I got into it. And up until that point, I hadn't invested in any real training for myself, out of my own pocket. And so I went along to a practitioner training. That's how I got into it. How did it move from there? I thought I'd just be copying material. On day 4, I thought I'd gone crazy, because suddenly I realized that all along, everything that I thought was everybody else was actually me. Well, a big chunk of it anyway. And again, being real, never planned to take it any further than that. And then a friend of mine said, how about we do master prac together? So I did it, and again had another shift.
Was that with me?
And then somebody said that wasn't you, no. That was I can't remember who that was. And then another friend of mine who was on the master prac course said, how about we go to Vegas and do trainers training? And I wasn't really bothered about going to do trainers training, but I thought, I haven't been out of South Africa for a while. America's pretty good for shopping, and it's summer there and it's winter here. Let me go. So I went, and I went through what can only be described as probably the worst and the absolute best 16, 17, 18 days of my entire existence. And coming out of it, still wasn't even bothered about training NLP. Though when I got back to South Africa and you guys know I go back to the UK quite a lot where my family are, people started saying, hey, there's something different about you. What's gone on? And I didn't tell them everything, because that'd be too much detail that we could bear to listen to on a podcast such as this. However, I attributed it to the stuff I'd learned with NLP, which really was it's like the change from the inside out. And the world was different. And people started asking, well, if ever you do a training, let me know. Before I knew it, I had about 7 people. I had 7 people. And I thought, let me give it a go. Let me do a training. I did one. What I loved seeing was the transformation in the people who went through that course. Carried on doing my corporate training as I still do today. But after that, I thought, hang on, I kind of got bitten by the bug of helping people shift their lives. Yeah. That's what it was for me. Was that a long-winded way of saying it?
It was appropriate for you, Simon. Very appropriate.
Okay, I appreciate that comment. Thank you, Conor.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing. And then from there, you joined the Master Trainer program, and you got to know us on a deeper level, and we remain in contact and friends ever since, and then ended up working together as well for about 5 years when you were just sitting around the world. In fact, I still remember during COVID, when there was like only 2 planes flying in the world, you managed to find them and make your way to different countries. It was hilarious. I mean, hindsight, looking back, it was hilarious. You know what? You have a level of resilience within you that only few have, Simon. And you seem to, again, like Vivi, get stuff done. You get it done. And when you say you'll do something, you follow through with it, irrespective of the challenge that you have given yourself. You always seem to follow through and achieve and create result with your teams.
I think I learned from somebody who's pretty good at instilling that in people, and I thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool to see what you're doing now, and I think it's very well suited to both of you, Simon. I noticed that even after I'd finished my training, my trainer's training that is, and all the amazing feedback and all the amazing direction you gave me, you hung in there with me. I was just some small town guy with big dreams, but you hung in there with me for a very long time. I mean, even till this day, in one way, shape, or form. But you were checking in with me all the time, making sure that I had everything I needed, making sure that, I was, you're holding me accountable, and yeah, it's really cool to see what you're doing now. And I see that same spark in Vivi. I remember you talk about Las Vegas, you talk about NLP trainers training in Las Vegas. I was asked last minute to fly over there to support at that training one year. I think it was 2018. And Vivi was there, and she was the very first person that I had to adjudicate for that training. And I was like, oh my God, this girl is going to go all the way. She's amazing. She's going to just absolutely smash it out of the park. But I had to be really hard on her because she was showing so much promise. I had to really dive deep into the feedback that I gave her to really find things that she could improve on, because she already had the hallmarks of an absolutely fantastic trainer. And I remember, she sort of disappeared into the darkness a little bit for a couple of months, but then all of a sudden, the following year in Australia, she was bringing like 30 students or something like that to the training. And I'm just like, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen with this woman. It's absolutely incredible to see it come to life. And yeah, Vivi, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you found your way into that training, and then also how you produced such incredible results in such a short amount of time.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I do remember that day. I remember somebody flying in from Australia, red-eyed, exhausted, I think with the time difference and all that, but it was amazing. It was the first time that I knew that there is an international standards, and there are people holding up to those standards and not letting go of whatever is a lack of it. And I think that's it's honorable, and it's sincere to the field, to the knowledge, that everybody is holding up to something, and because of there is a true intention behind that. And I really see that in you when you gave me disastrous, if I could say that, feedback and wrecked me into pieces, but that was a phoenix rebirth. So thank you very much for that. I would say I started off in hypnosis first in 2013 when I started moving into self-development, and I was a trainer for Fairfax Media in Australia. But then I noticed that people actually have different reactions towards trainings and change and self-development as a whole. So moving into the minds of people, then I first found hypnosis. And then from hypnosis, I moved into NLP. My school was probably different from, so I studied NLP firstly in Thailand. Then I tried to find, there were answers didn't get answered. And there were knowledge that I know that can go deeper. And because it's a time of collaboration, it's basically a time that we find freedom in holding hands with each other in the world. So that was when I started looking behind the connections that my teacher had, and looking to see where the knowledge actually stems from, and where we can actually find the real stuff or the original stuff before it gets applied. Because basically, I think nowadays everything needs to be applied to your own life. It's nothing that needs to be original anymore. However, you need to know the fundamentals to be able to apply something perfectly or beautifully. That's when I found my way into trainers training and met Kallum on the first day. Or actually, I spoke to Conor first. I think we had like a 2-hour conversation.
Yeah, it was a long conversation, and I remember it. I was at the in-laws' house because we were building our home, and we had a really rock solid, good conversation.
Yeah, I think I could be a projection of a good client, paid in full and all that. Yeah, but that were good times. Like, it was the first time I learned that, okay, sales is something different when you know the strategies and values. And yeah, I'm using technical terms here, but I'm sure you can explain better than I do. Yeah, and that's the start, the beginning. And yes, I did disappear into the mist of darkness. And I think it's exactly like Simon, when we didn't really come for training, but we go out as a life changer and we can't get that batch off. So we still have to do it.
I remember you came back and assisted at the Prac and Master Prac the following year.
The next year.
This is how it works. Let me come to trainers training, and 4 months later, bang, and you had a cohort with you, and you were translating.
I was translating, and that was the first time I actually met Simon.
Yes.
So it's a reunite of us all.
2018, 2019.
2019.
Yeah, I think that was
2019.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fast forward 5 years, and we are talking at the Connect Unplugged Podcast number 20, and you have both been instrumental in the growth of the NLP industry, both that you're influencing, but also because of the people you have inspired and trained, and upholding very, very high standards. And what I think there seems to be a theme with this, and what I've said, Cal, is that they do it. They're not sitters and then take cut shots of people across the bow. They see something that has to be done, and they don't sit there. They actually do it. And as a result, fast forward a number of years, and in your strive and your quest to make sure that NLP is recognized globally as a highly, highly credible modality and source of change within individuals, both on a personal and professional capacity, which it is, you've put a lot of time and effort into building an association or network or body called the IFNLP, and that was launched last year, I believe, or earlier this year.
Earlier this year, we launched in February this year.
And that's exciting. And the IFNLP, can you unpack that a little bit for our listeners? We have a lot of NLP members or people who have been trained in NLP who will be very interested to find out what the IFNLP is, what you stand for, your values, and I think everyone is on the same path wanting to edify NLP in every industry.
I think we might have to start with NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming and not Natural Language Processing. Well, now there are two meanings to it.
You're right.
Yeah, there is a lot of people that understands it a different way. So in our lives, NLP has played a big part, and it has shifted the mindset, the neurons, I think basically everything. The conversation about IFNLP has started back in like 2020, I think. It's the point that we didn't know it was going to come out as IFNLP. We just wanted to create a community that would move forward with this world, with the knowledge that has so much power to it to create influence and authority, as well as it could be on the very bad side as well. So I had that conversation on the phone with Simon in 2020, I believe, only with the intention to create a new community or a community that everybody comes together and has a part in this knowledge in moving forward the world of NLP. But then it turned out to be something else. I'm going to pass it on to you, Simon.
I thought you might. So everybody listening to this will be aware of the concept of towards and away from, and both can be equally powerful. So I think it's important to look at both. And what I saw, I think, Conor, you mentioned earlier, I originally, for many years, I was entirely in the corporate world and was doing work with pretty big companies. Even though I was based in South Africa, I'd be working, I'd fly to America, I'd fly to wherever the heck. I became really great. I was probably the fastest from getting off the back of a 747 to the front of anybody on the planet. I traveled that much. And when I got into the field of NLP, I found it magical, not just for the change it could make for myself, but for the change it could make for others. Maybe let me get real. People who thought what the hell is life about, and more or less given up hope, and it would pull people around. And then there were the business applications as well, where you could do small things that would make a massive change. So for me, it was like a box of magic tricks.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to share that with everybody. And sure, I did take it, and I copied some of it, and I took it into my corporate trainings. And there you've got a big towards on it. But one thing that I experienced once I'd been in, formally studying in the field for a few years and getting certificates and goodness knows whatever else, then I'd start telling corporate clients that I'd trained in NLP. And I'd have had to be blind not to recognize that I was getting a negative response from some clients having gone into the field. And then it was probably only then that I started looking on Google as to what people are saying about the field, which, I mean, what does it come up with? You can look today. I looked before we came on tonight. It's got things where people say it's a money-making scam, it's network marketing, it resonates with religious cults. There's all kinds of crazy rotten on there that comes up on Google. First of all, we've got to be real. That's how it is. And yet here am I, having learned this bunch of stuff, which I think is pure magic, and recognize that talking about it in the corporate world and wherever, I'm getting a strongly negative reaction. When I spoke to people about it and explained it and brought it into my trainings, people started understanding and seeing the benefits of it. So where was it then? The away from is that after a few years of doing this, I stopped talking about NLP in my corporate trainings. It just really wasn't worth it, because some of the influencers, the decision makers could fire against it. And a reality was it was probably losing me business associating, mentioning NLP. And the whole IFNLP and thinking, and Kallum, I spoke to you about this, a lot before we actually launched. It's NLP is such an amazingly beautiful, powerful set of techniques. It's the thinking, it's the attitude, we all know it's the attitude, it's the methodology, it's the systems, it's the art of communication. It's so many things that can make a massive difference, whether it's in an individual's life, whether it's in their business life, whatever. You can use it anywhere. And yet the perception of it out there was really not good. And then if I apply the presupposition that, the meaning of our communication is the response that we get, who is responsible for NLP having a not so good name? And there's my away from, because then I've got to pull it back and I've got to go, is it me? Because certain schools I went to said everything is you. And then I'm realizing that perhaps that's not necessarily the case. And here comes an opportunity. I've invested a lot of time in this, learning the stuff. I've met some amazing people along the way who've taught me a hell of a lot and kicked my butt really hard, helped me become a better person who can achieve a lot more. But I now find myself in a field where there's a not so good side to it. And coming out of that, I think it's a great pity that organizations, be they corporate, be they NGOs, be they individuals, turn their backs on NLP because of the reputation that it has. And so one of my big things is to actually turn that around and get NLP recognized for the good that it can do, get it acknowledged, and get people wanting more of it, and ultimately making more of a difference in people's lives. And making a bit of a change to this place that we live, this planet that we live on. For real. I don't mean just saying the words here. I mean for really making a damn difference.
I totally agree. And if I were to add to that, I face the same issue, as well as once we've trained, our students or certified NLPers deviate from NLP. So even though they learned from the best, or they learned whoever they've learned from, it doesn't mean that they've graduated from my school or Simon's, but we found that they try to find other tools to mask up NLP. And the fundamentals are blurry from then onwards. And it's like, it's sad to the knowledge that we find it magical. However, it is our responsibility as well. You were saying something, Callum.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I agree. Like, I mean, I remember going through my trainings and starting to learn about all the boards, and there seems to be one for every different training company, and there seems to be one in every different country, and you know the standards seem to vary, and I kind of wasn't sure the purpose of it. I knew and understood the purpose of governing bodies and the importance of governing bodies. I came from an industry in the mining and gas industry where it was really important that we met those particular standards, because if we didn't, people got hurt. So, you know, I understood the importance of it, but I didn't really see any of those boards actively giving back to the community, actively moving the industry forward or advancing it in any way, shape, or form. It felt like it was just a website with a bunch of different standards that you needed to meet, and then you paid that website. You know, there wasn't really even a face to it. You paid that website the money, and then all of a sudden you got this pretty little seal that you could now put on your website and tell people that you're recognized by it. And even when that was first presented to me, it didn't quite feel right, because I didn't really see the personable side to it. I didn't see any industry training come in. I didn't see any upholding of the standards, where, you know, I don't want to say policing, but there didn't seem to be any kind of any type of regulatory body that was going in and checking that the standards were meeting the requirements. And as because, you know, when I sort of came into the NLP world, it seemed to grow quite rapidly in terms of how many trainers, how many coaches were out there. And then, you know, all of a sudden being, you know, in the middle of that world and seeing some of the stuff that was being produced and some of the techniques that were being absolutely destroyed in the way that people were doing them, and the results they were getting were just, you know, appalling, to be quite honest with you guys.
Hey guys, Kallum and Conor here from Connect Coaching. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Unplugged Podcast. We're jumping in to let you know about something really exciting, the Forever Client Matrix.
Absolutely. What we love doing is lighting people up and having them realize that their future is bright, and most importantly, making a difference in this world. So we are very excited to be able to share this with you.
If you want to turn every prospect into a Forever Client, then please click on the link below in the description and get instant access now to your preview of the Forever Client Matrix.
Enjoy.
So how is the IFNLP different, and what is it that you guys feel like you're doing that's going to change that stigma that's out there in the other industries out there when they look at NLP? How do we get it sort of acceptable in the corporate world, or even to the level of, say, the ICF, for example? What is it that you guys are doing in order to get that done?
This is the exciting part that we've been waiting for. So it's a conversation that stems way back, and a group of people that holds on to the same values, and also is there to die for those values as well. So I think it's a group of very international, globally group that got together, and we started drafting out what we want the world to be like in the NLP field. Or if we're going to state it that NLP can be manipulative, it can be very manipulative in a very good way as well. Like, if it can go bad, it can really bring the best out of everybody. So if we were to dream and dream hard, what would the world be like 5 years, 10 years from now in the field of NLP? And would the tools still be in people's lives if everybody is masking around it? Would it still be active? Would it still be growing? I see NLP as an alive education, knowledge-based type. So it's not dead yet. It's exactly like language. Like, you have new slangs every day and new words every day. there are words from each community that people don't understand outside, and there's also words that root back deep into our unconscious mind. So to me, NLP is it's charming. It's very attractive. It's the roots of how we think of our own selves, not just doing everything outside. So out of dreaming for the whole week, like we put together all the people in the room, and we start dreaming and dreaming and dreaming for the whole week. And we start to learn that there's a lot of things that we can actually do more. Or of course it involves a lot of things, but there are things that we can play a part of to create the smallest changes and have it snowball after that. Then I think the initial meeting, was it the initial, Simon? Well, the official initial meeting was in
That sounds
Thailand.
good.
Yeah, that sounds good. It was in Thailand. And so we were honored to be hosting a group of master trainers who actually hold on to the same dreams. And as one of our founding members say, George Lee from Singapore, he always says, a dream you cannot defend is never your dream. So that's when Simon got everybody together and we started defending our dreams. So the defender, I'm passing it on to you.
I think it goes back to, I mean, Kallum, Conor, I'm not sure who it was. Kallum, you were mentioning values. You only need to put on Facebook and see how many people are putting out the coaching industry is a massive industry. It's how many billion, it's this and that. You can have 6 figures, you can have 7 figures. I'm even seeing people put 8 figures now. And I'm like, okay, yes. And a bit about my background. Some of you will know it. I know Kallum and Conor and Vivi, you do know this. My grandfather started a textile business way back, I don't know, probably over 100 years ago now. And my father and his brothers carry it on, and the next generation has gone into it. And he had this thing. I promise you, my father he's got a great life. Believe me, he's short of nothing, nothing at all. You look at him and you go, this guy's got it going on. He never talks about it. He'll be down in the local pub, he'll be doing his thing, but he's super proud. He produces most of the fabric for Aquascutum, for Burberry, for Chanel, for the whole lot. But what drives him, he can walk into a store and he can pull a fiber out of a garment and he can tell you which country that came from, what altitude that goat or that sheep was at. And he's driven by the quality of what he's done. And that came from his grandfather from his father, and it moved on down. He's focused on quality. He's focused on delivering to his customers. He's an honorable guy. His word is his bond. And it's one of the few textile businesses that is still alive in Europe. And what is his value? I've known my father quite a while. His top thing is giving value to his customers. And I think, Kallum, you were mentioning the boards, many of the different organizations that are around you. You pay your yearly fee, and if you're fortunate, a piece of paper arrives maybe 2 months later and nothing else. So when we all got together, we're saying, hey, it's time for something more. Why would we pay whatever it is, $300, $400 a year for a piece of paper? Like, if we want to be a member of a community, let's make the community happen. And let's make a difference. And while we're about it, let's get the reputation, the credibility, the acceptance of NLP all moved up a level. Let's learn from all those great people in the past, even though many of them started fighting with each other. Let's learn from the past. Let's learn from the now, and let's take this, I'm going to call it a profession or a way of thinking or a piece of magic. Let's take it into the future and let's grow it. And I'm going to use some religious word now. Let's make a goddamn difference to this planet that we live on. Forget the 6 figures, the 7 figures, or 8. I don't give a flying monkey, frankly. But get the quality right. Make it something good. Make it something that you're proud of. Make it something that when you go to sleep at night, you did an honest day's work. Yeah, and you got your reward for it for sure.
Yeah. It's been an interesting discussion over the last, I was in the NLP industry for 20 solid years of my life, nearly half my life.
Yeah.
And there was always that discussion about having it government accredited. And there was always two camps on that. And to this day, I'm still 50-50. One, getting it government accredited seems to be the golden seal that it's approved. And if the government approves, then therefore it's okay. And it seems to be the currency of certainty for people who are in a new industry. If the government approves it, then it must be okay without knowing too much about the industry. But the downside of that is that NLP is an art and a science. So it's very difficult in order, it would severely stop any progression of the field to a degree if it was government accredited. And which government globally would accredit it? And how would the international standards be formalized? And any new addition to the industry would be quelled, because, is that a word, quelled? Squashed, because it would have to go through the rigmarole of getting the government approval. So therefore, it's reliant on the industry approval, and therefore, when the industry self-regulates, a self-regulated industry, one of the good parts about it is that it is accessible to everyone. One of the downsides is that there are a few sometimes cowboys in those sorts of industries, and I guess with the IFNLP, this is the way forward to, yes, it's industry regulated. However, the standards in order to become accredited by the IFNLP, there seems to be, there's a difference between Mount Buller. Mount Buller is a mountain here in Australia. There seems to be a difference between Mount Buller and Mount Everest. Even though they're both called Mount, there's significant difference in the height in which they go. So with the IFNLP, can you share with our listeners a little bit about accreditation? Is really important, and as you said, an honest day's work. What is it about the IFNLP? How does it differ? What standards are we talking about here?
Before we
I
get
think,
into standards, I
Go
think
then.
I'm just gonna say, when we first launched, the best part that we've done, and I'm very proud of, is we actually launched a conference, and we invited everybody in the field of NLP, if you are interested to make a change in this world, in the field of NLP, to come into that conference and speak up. Like, what would you like to happen? Like, if we were to become IFNLP together, what do you want to see? How do you want to see the field move forward? And we found that a lot of people, like you said, Connor, talks about standards and who's regulating it. And we don't have the rights to regulate anything. The IFNLP is not there to regulate. We hear from whoever is using NLP in their lives and what good results they get from their lives. And so there is a point of correction and whatnot, but there's also a point of applied and still get the results. So there's no one right way, like one correct way, like this life has to be like that. But there is a lot of things that we can change rolling on to the future together, that we see this field as evolving, and there are a lot of knowledge that needs to be put back into the field of NLP. If we talk about 7-8 figures, then now people don't work for those 7-8 figures anymore. They work for their own freedom. Wealth is not the number one value of this world, especially after COVID, but also it's the value of being able to pay back to the society, earning self-spirituality, getting the freedom back into our lives time-wise. Of course, finance, you can't deviate from it, but still, it's a new world now that we talk about, and we talk about the standards that will uplift society, not who's right or wrong in each and every process or technique. And therefore, there is a lot of things going to change in the third and fourth phase of IFNLP. For example, if you combine NLP to each and every knowledge that you do know, for example, I now am certified as a clinical sexologist. If I combine NLP into family therapy using sex as one modality, it is already one modality anyways. If it contains enough of NLP, then you can be an approved course as well. So people can actually learn from you, and it expands through internationally, not like certain type of knowledge from certain countries using certain language, and you can't really get into anything. Yeah. So I think that's the beginning of how I'm proud of the standards of IFNLP didn't stem from just us talking about it, but it stems from people coming into the conference and pouring their hearts out to help us. So it's a truly international standard.
It certainly feels very global in
Yeah.
approach.
I think one of the you mentioned earlier, Connor, the certification and the accreditation. There are a couple of the other boards that do accreditation. Most of your audience, and certainly all of us in this room, know that we can pretty much rock up at any NLP course in the world, and we can walk out of there with a certificate. And we've been on courses where people have not done very much and still walked out with a certificate. That is one of that's where the decline in credibility begins, because if you're a student on one of those courses and you've put everything into it and you know all your stuff, and then the person walking up behind you for a certificate, you know they've actually done not very much and don't know their stuff and still get a certificate, you start questioning the validity of your own of what you've been given. So what we're doing is we started with the Master Trainer Accreditation earlier this year. We'll be moving on to a trainer accreditation in the next 2-3 months, and then following that, we'll be moving into accrediting coaches. It'll be a competency and knowledge-based assessment.
Okay.
We actually won't give a damn who people have trained with. We don't care about that. We'll be assessing competency and the ability to apply this stuff. Sure, we'll be assessing the knowledge as well, but really, if I take it to its to the base level, what would stop us accrediting somebody as a trainer if they demonstrated all the competency and all the knowledge? Would it matter where they got their education and their knowledge from? Would it matter if they had a certificate at prac or master prac level? I ask that as a question. I don't necessarily give the answer. You know, I know when you pass a driving test, you don't have to say who taught you how to drive. You're competent as a driver on the road. Yeah.
And
so we're looking at changing that way. But anybody,
different phases, so we'll tap into that. I think I'm understanding. So by the competency levels, every trainer, let's start with trainer of NLP through the IFNLP, who has that seal, you know, the seal as such, you know with certainty that they're actually making a positive impact in the world of NLP in the way that they deliver it to the world. So everyone that they train will be trained to a higher level, and therefore that ripple effect of competency will be spread out from that trainer, as opposed to a get them in, get them out type of approach.
Yes.
Okay.
And we won't be we're not an organization where if somebody submits a certificate from somewhere else, that they'll be promoted on the website. I mean, that people who are trainers, coaches, master trainers who are accredited will get a full page on the website. They'll be able to do a video on the website and promote their services. We won't, however, be putting people's services up there where we haven't assessed those people.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So of the piece of paper you have, everyone has to jump over the same hurdles in order to.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that when somebody finds a trainer who is accredited by the FNLP, they can be damn sure that they're getting somebody who's been fully assessed, and also that they're adhering to a code of ethics, and that they've submitted certain documentary stuff and codes of conduct that they adhere to. So I think at the start of the conversation, Kallum, you mentioned ICF, and it's got a credibility attached to it. I know some people knock it, some people love it, whichever which way. But I look forward to the day when I can, go in and say, yeah, I'm part of the IFNLP, and ICF is truly internationally recognized. And it's about building something that has that level of credibility. And that's not set in stone. The Apple iPhone changes and upgrades every year. Why the hell can't the field of NLP?
Yeah.
And if we get all the people coming to us, becoming part of this and helping us become what we want to become, then we'll get there.
There was a big thing for me when I was closely involved in the industry, and that was, ongoing training or ongoing supervision, or not supervision in the formal sense, but just being able to have somebody help guide you and help support you through doing trainings or doing, your coaching and things like that.
Yeah.
And having someone, I guess, it's neutral and a third party that's not necessarily attached to the training organization that you've worked with in the past. Does the IFNLP plan on giving ongoing, education, some sort of, professional development?
This is going to be something very interesting in the future.
Mhm.
We're looking at all of our members can come and update their knowledge in NLP, as well as like I use NLP in serious stuff, or I would say in real life situations like massive shooting events or active shooters who shoot into schools. And I go in and heal and all that. So there are applied NLP that is still growing out there, and it's not just me. So there will be education, continuous education, online courses that the members of IFNLP can come and update their knowledge, learn what others do around the world, how they use NLP. Like Simon has gone into the red zones of South Africa and use NLP to help with learning and attitude, say, reassessment. And there's a lot of things that people do around the world, and therefore those things will be updated on our platform. And whoever has become our accredited trainer or master trainer can actually also have a shared revenue course on the platform as well. So it's going to become more than just the standard IFNLP. It's going to become the platform of knowledge, and we have shared knowledge that you don't have to dig deep into this world or go down the rabbit hole to find. It's going to be there.
Brilliant. I know NLP has been used a lot in actually trauma-based examples. When the earthquake happened in Christchurch in New Zealand about 2009, 2010 or thereabouts, I know that there was a cohort of NLP trainers who actually worked with some of the victims down there. They made a huge impact. And Vivi, I remember there was a shooting in Thailand in that mall, and you literally went in, set up a stall, and I think it was pro bono, right? You work with people pro bono in order to help them, and I think that's admirable, but it's also a reflection of the level of application that NLP can be used in. It's such a diverse skill set. It really is, isn't it? You can use it in every area of one's life, whether you're a paramedic and you want to calm down an irate passenger, or you're a parent and you want to help your child have better learning strategies at school, or you've been in the business field for 25 years and you want to learn how to lead and mentor your team more effectively. NLP is applicable in all of those areas and then some. That's why I loved it so much. Is the variety, and they really anything that holds us back is our imagination as to how we can apply it, and our thinking outside the box in order to make it work within every scenario. And situation.
A core thing that we believe, this is Conor and Kallum, is that if we get the reputation of this field improved, it's going to get out there and reach so many more people. Be that people starting their own businesses, be it people who've got their own businesses and they're wanting to grow it, whether it's working with their family, whatever the heck. It's this can sound a bit dramatic. I'm going to go, oxygen is available on the planet and we all need it. I know that. Well, from what I've been told, if my biology teacher was correct, maybe it's some, I don't know, whatever. But I really do believe that NLP, when applied ethically, it really can not just help change people's lives and improves their businesses. I mean, you guys all know I live down here in South Africa where there's a whole lot of challenges that we face. But just by going down and just spending a day with a group of people who live in a township, you can change lives with this stuff. You know, I don't do it every day. I don't give all my time away. But I'm going to go as far as to say it doesn't just change lives. This stuff has the power to save lives when done correctly.
And it's not just motivation.
And that's where it is. You know, and our values of the IFNLP, it's about growth. You mentioned it's personal growth, people in the field. You know, we want to become a platform and get more people involved so that we can help each other grow. Research is going to become a thing, not keeping NLP as an island that's on its own. Like Vivi said, we can get involved in other related things. Why? Because we give a damn about people, and why can't other stuff come into it? We want to be open. We want to be transparent. Kallum, you made a reference to boards that can be owned by companies. Yeah, Vivi has a training company. I have a training company. There are 4 other people who are founder members of the IFNLP. Some of them have training companies. Some of them are coaches. But what we're doing to keep us clean, keep us transparent, give us good guidance, we're getting 2 non-exec directors in, one who has no involvement in the field of NLP or personal development, but is a UK-based guy who can drive companies around membership and making a difference. And then we've got somebody in to keep us in check on the legal side. Yeah, we've got a guy who does, he cares about humanity. He's a hugely successful lawyer, and he's going to guide us that way. So openness, transparency. Whereas, you know, like Kallum was saying, many of the boards that are set up are actually just owned by, it's kind of a side product. And trust is a big thing. You know, we're growing. We're going to make a couple of mistakes along the way. Watch. We maybe made a couple in this podcast, or maybe I did. I can be at effect and say it's the time of night. I might do that when I watch this again tomorrow. But trust is big. And for me and for all of the rest of the team, it's being human. We live in a world where the divide between the rich and the poor is getting bigger. And now anybody listening to this can go, oh, he's doing a level 6 on me. Well, let the divide grow too big and you'll regret it, because though people have nothing, they're going to come and get you. So there's a few checks and balances to get in place. And I do have a belief that together, working with, you know, I know the huge amount of work, you know, Conor and Kallum, you put into helping people grow businesses, and the amount of people you've worked with over the years, it's thousands. And a high percentage of those people are in this field because they do want to make a goddamn difference, or whatever religious character I give to it. And bringing some humanity in this is a big thing. I was playing around on Google, Mr., Mrs., they, them, Z, Google, before I came on here. And there's companies who put out there, for example, you know, we're going to change 2 billion lives or transform the whole world. And the price is set at something like $4,000, $5,000. So I was doing a little bit of research on who has this kind of money. And what I found out, and I did do 3 checks on this, is 25% of the world's population earn less than $3.65 a day. So what's 250 times by $3? That's $750 a day. And they have to feed their family off that. How long will it take them to be able to afford to do a practitioner? Okay, there's a question behind this somewhere, but what are people really doing to make a difference? Or is it just isn't there more that we can do if we work together? 47% of people in the world have less than $6 a day. Is this too much?
No.
No.
Oh,
It's a reality. It's a reality check. I mean, it's uncomfortable information to come across, but I think it's important to discuss.
It's uncomfortable because if we go transform to make a big thing like transform the world, change this place we live in, one person at a time, well, that's available for a select few in certain cases. And I think it's stuff that we're going to explore with the IFNLP. Vivi and I are talking about doing a couple of joint projects between Thailand and South Africa. And it's going to be an interesting journey ahead. The world, as we know, Conor, you said a hell of a lot changed from 2020. There's a hell of a lot more to come. And I have an absolute belief, which I hope I keep for the rest of my life, that if we work together with like-minded people who've got values that actually show that we really do care and we want to create a little bit of magic in this world that seems a little bit increasingly tough, then let's just get on and do it.
Well, if there's anything that Kallum and I can do to help in terms of imparting our knowledge with your communities, if you're doing volunteer work, it doesn't sound right it doesn't sound like the right terminology to use, but that's effectively
Complementary, I think the word is.
complementary, pro bono, educating those who maybe haven't had that opportunity in life in order to be mentored or educated by people who walked the path prior. Cal and I will be more than happy to help you. I'm just conscious of time here because Cal needs to, it's almost like a second podcast type of leading into.
Yeah.
But just quickly, you mentioned 4 phases. You started in February. You've finished phase 2. You have phase 3 and 4. Are there 4 phases in total in terms of the complete launch?
We're just going into phase 2 now. So within the next few days, we'll be announcing dates where we're doing accreditation of trainers.
Okay, cool. And
a few more things kicking off in that. If anybody checks onto ifnlp.com, if you want to know some more, just register your interest there. And it's got the details of the phases on there, actually. Phase 3, which I believe is scheduled to come out in February 2025, is when we'll be having an accreditation process for coaches in there as well. There's a lot more in there, like Vivi mentioned earlier, having, if you're a trainer, if you're a coach out there, you'll be able to develop a course, host it on the platform and take revenue from it. Also, for example, once you become accredited as a master trainer or as a trainer, you can get involved with the IFNLP. So say, for example, the master trainers who went through accreditation earlier this year, we'd love it if they came back and got involved in the accreditation of master trainers the next time we do it. And we don't expect them to do that for no fee. At least we'd be covering travel, we'd be covering accommodation. We're not setting up as one of those organizations where it works a different way. Let me be diplomatic for a change.
So where can people find you? And any
how can they get involved?
How can they get involved?
I think ifnlp.com. And by the good bit is stage 4. We're looking to become a member-driven organization. And from that, it's like, tell us what you want. So whether we're going to create communities of people who are working in particular fields of business, whether we're going to create communities in different areas of the world, we want to put those communities, call them tribes, give them we don't really want to take other people's names for things, but we want to connect people with people who will help them, will inspire them, where they can work together and really start making a shift and taking this industry forward.
ifnlp.com. If you're in the NLP industry, if you're thinking about getting in the NLP industry, go there, check it out. You'll learn a lot and get plugged into the richness of the community.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Conor. Thank you.
I'd love to.
Thank you so
And I think
much.
I'd love to have you guys come back. I think there's going to be a bunch of unanswered questions for people, because I know they're hearing about this for the first time. They want to know how it applies to them. They want to know how they can get involved. They want to know what's on the agenda. And at some point, I think it would be great to get you guys back and dive a little bit deeper on it, and maybe even put some feelers out to the community and find out what questions they would like to ask you, and Conor and I can ask you and have you guys answer them. It'd be great to meet the other members of the IFNLP. I think the more that we can see who's involved in it, I know when I heard about all the names that were involved in it, I thought there can only be good things that come from this. Again, like you said, Simon, there's going to be mistakes that are made along the way. And it's the same thing when you're building anything new for the first time. But I think that the values, the intentions, and the vision is not only admirable, but it's what the industry is needed right now. It's the freshness is needed, the motivation, the energy that you guys have in putting into it is needed. And I'm really excited to see where you guys take the IFNLP. It's going to be really, really cool. Like Conor said, if we can help in any way, let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like, we are very honored to be here today. And thank you so much, Kallum and Conor, for organizing all of this. And for us to be able to talk about what we're so excited about. Thank you so much. We will need all the help in the world. There is a saying in Asia that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. So there is a lot more that we need help with. We need assessment. We need evaluation. We need a lot of things from the outside as well. So we could be working with our blinds on. And yeah, I don't know. We might do. I've already have made gazillion mistakes, and we will continue.
Yep.
And we learn from them.
Yeah, fail forward fast.
Yes.
There we go.
Question. I'm absorbing at the moment. And Vivi, it's about what time is it there now in Thailand?
7 a.m.
Oh, that's okay. I'm back in. That's okay. You got up early to meet us at 6. And Simon, what time is it in South Africa now?
It's 2:20 a.m.
2:20 a.m. Goodness me.
Yeah,
Really
it's
appreciate it.
2:20
You're no stranger to working through. I remember during the COVID months or years in the training, all sorts of times. So
You always make 2 a.m. look good, Simon. You always make 2 a.m. look good.
Really, I'm not so sure about it. I'm like, no. I spoke to a friend of mine. I mean, Conor, you came along to the conference, the lodge. I don't know if you saw it. It's a friend of mine, Lumka, who does a lot of work here. I do work with her. She works with the Desmond Tutu Foundation down here. She's actually flying out to Malaysia tomorrow to do some, I don't know, some big media thing over there. But she called me about half an hour before this, and she said, Simon, she says, all you need to do, she says, just get in the shower. She says, have a 30-second hot shower, then turn it cold for 30 seconds, then turn it hot for 45 seconds, then turn it cold for 45 seconds. And I just said, Lumka, you're fucking mad. I said, you need to be packing your... I said, I am not putting myself through such a torturous experience. How dare you suggest this to me? No.
Well, I hope we made it easy on you, and I'm excited to get this out to our network. We're going to put it, it's obviously out on Facebook at the moment, but we're going to also get our producer to edit it, obviously, and put it on YouTube. We'll do what we can to get the word out for you.
Put some promotion behind it on YouTube.
Yeah, I think really just anybody who's up for making a difference in this field of NLP, please get hold of us, and together we'll make stuff happen. We'll fail forward fast. Conor, I promise.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, team.
Got it. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good morning, whatever it is.
Hey guys, Kallum and Conor here from Connect Coaching. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Unplugged Podcast. We're jumping in to let you know about something really exciting. If you are a practitioner, a coach, or a trainer in the alternative therapy modality space, the Forever Client Matrix is something that we've modeled in the last 30 combined years, both Conor and my experience. And we've turned it into a 2-day intensive, and we want to give you a preview of that Forever Client Matrix. Absolutely. We want to make the bar for them to enter into that program very, very low and have them get incredible results.
I've sold about $40 million worth, and together we've sold about $100 million worth with our teams.
That's right. We believe that trust and reliability is the currency of the future. So if you want to turn every transaction into a transformational experience, if you want to turn every prospect into a forever client, then please click on the link below in the description and get instant access now to your preview of the Forever Client Matrix.
Enjoy.